baby, I'm trying to get away. Trying to lock in the guap, trying to block all the pain. I'm a blind little boss, I'm on top of the game. I've been plotting a lot, now I'm tossing your bait. Yeah, my pops got caught, didn't lock them away. My mom fought hard 5 jobs in a day. I'll be dropping the box and I'm copping the pain. We out for the stars to a tropical place. Ooh, yeah, I'm spitting it heavy, the mission is steady. Your bitches are jelly, I'm ditching the petty. You're digging for pennies, I'm itching and ready. I open my heart when I listen to Shetty. I'm bold like a boss, but I'm little like Debbie. I know it's a boss, I got richer than Getty. I'm holding the guap and I'm whipping the Yeti. Yeah, Kari can play with advanced moves. I'm fucking my girl and her man too. I'm taking the ball like the ran do. My soul is the one that I can't lose. I soak up the sun like a sand dune. I'm holding up love with the bamboo. I'm rolling the blunt by the candle. Taking the game, running it back without taking a drink. Yeah, I'm the one and I'm making a wave. Rolling the blunt and I'm blazing a J. I'm escaping the brain, go straight for the cake. I'ma take to the bank, now taking a break. I'm made for the race, I pray for the day. I wake with a bake in the greatest state.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay, he's Maddie, and this is the Thursday night football pregame show.
Yeah, another big show for us. It's also our review of week 3, which, Jay, was just another great week of football. Not as many upsets as there were in week 2, but still some great games for us to talk about. So in this show, we'll be talking about our reviews to some of the bigger games in week 3, including the Cowboys versus the Ravens, the Vikings versus who did the Vikings just beat? The Texans. And we'll be looking at the Commanders. The Commanders beating the Bengals as well, which is a real surprise. As well as that, we'll be looking at our review of our rookie QBs this season, giving out our week 3 rewards, and then looking ahead to what will hopefully be the Dallas Cowboys get-right game against the New York Giants on Thursday Night Football. And that's where we'll be finishing the show. Actually, we'll be finishing the show with our best bets of week 4. So stay tuned for our best bets of week 4. And Jay, our best bet section is actually not going too badly, considering how crazy this season's been. If you look at all the other broadcasters and stuff like that, and then like Colin Cowherd's Blazing 5, for example, we're definitely closer than him. I'm 6-3 on best bets. Jay is close to 500 now with 4-5. And then our other picks didn't go as well last week. Probably the better. Probably the less said about them, the better. But some teams did us dirty.
It's making up for the fact that I crushed it like the first 5 weeks last year. Now the universe is getting back at me.
Yeah, definitely. Just for people who know, Jay is currently 17-31 in the spread. But we go against the spread. We're getting most of the results right. We're just getting.
What are you at there, man?
I think I'm at 23-25 at the moment. That's where I am. I had a really good week.
By the way.
Sorry?
I was telling the people you cheat.
Yeah, I change it. I change the spreadsheet after the games. Like I change
I wasn't even gonna go that far. I wasn't sure how you cheated. I just knew you had to be cheating.
Oh, we've got some interesting stuff in the chat already, Jay. We've got Hitman coming up with this, which is an interesting talking point already. Going into Thursday Night Football, we might come back to this. Is that Neighbors is better than Trayvon Diggs, or is it Neighbors is better than Stephon Diggs? I'm interested to think about that. But Neighbors had a great game this week, and he's making Daniel Jones actually look like a serviceable quarterback.
I made a post during the game and said right at the end of the game, and I said Diggs is in the locker room asking for a trade as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, Diggs is, since leaving Minnesota, has been very close on a couple of occasions, and now the Texans. Should we just get straight into that game then? We'll talk about we'll talk Vikings versus Texans from week 3 reactions. Jay, did we overrate the Texans? Is this an overrated Texans team coming into this year?
No,
I don't think so either. I think they maybe had. Sorry,
they hit a fucking buzzsaw, and nobody just wants to give the Vikings any credit for where they're at.
Yeah, definitely. I think that there's people saying like, look, we may have overrated the Texans, and look, it's because the first 2 weeks of the season, they only just got past some teams that we thought they should have been beating pretty handsomely. But they got those wins and they got in and out of there and got it sorted. But with Mixon out of the backfield and their 3 wide receivers, they're a really dangerous team. And let's remember that they weren't playing with Mixon as well. But as you said, Jay, they ran into a buzzsaw in the Minnesota Vikings with maybe the most underrated defense in the NFL. And Jay, the question that I've got for you here that I think would be great for you to answer: are the Vikings currently the best team in the NFC?
Maybe. I don't want to jump the gun, but they're definitely balling out. I do know that I hear a lot of this. Oh, yeah, the Texans were out without Mixon. Okay, well, the Vikings were out without Hawkinson and Addison and Ivan Pace and fucking Dallas Turner. And, like, should I keep going? Like, that's the point is there's always injuries, right? There's always teams that are injured. But if you listen to Brian Flores's interviews, they ask him about the defense and what he was thinking when he set it up. And he goes, this defense was designed to beat a Shannahan offense, which is what Bobby Slowick's running too. Like, they literally designed this defense to beat that type of fucking offense. So, like, Matt LaFleur, good luck.
Yeah, as you're saying, it's an incredibly unpredictable offense as well. And last week, they obviously had a great game against Brock Purdy, who didn't seem to be like reading very well, and Shannahan as well, who didn't have any answers for it. And this week they played against CJ Stroud, who again didn't seem to be reading very well and didn't adjust well to it. Either it's incredibly unpredictable. They blitz from places where you're not really supposed to blitz. But now they have the player and the players and the personnel to go with it that they haven't had in previous years. So I think this Vikings defense may be one of the most difficult matchups for most teams in the NFC.
And if you're watching something that from what everybody says on TV is you never seen before, is Flores lining 7 at the line of scrimmage, but when they break back into zone, sometimes he's having the corner shift back to safety. The safeties come out as corners. So the fucking quarterback doesn't know what's going on until it's already happened.
Yeah, it's just an incredibly difficult defense to read.
Damn, Hitman.
I know. This classic Eagles fan hate there.
That is some straight hate. That is just some straight hate. But
and yeah, great way to have neighbors on fantasy 100%. With the Vikings as well, I think they may have made one of the most underrated signings of the season. And it's not an underrated signing on our podcast because obviously we talk about the Vikings a lot. But is Aaron Jones? Andrew Van Ginkel, great one. I was going with Aaron Jones, though. Aaron Jones.
Okay. I knew where you were going. I just thought I'd be fun with it, but yeah.
I'd say Van Ginkel is a great answer as well, but Aaron Jones, I think, is one of the most underrated signings of the season.
Jonathan Gennard, 3 sacks. Okay. I don't know. I will say, before we get to Aaron Jones, Jonathan Gennard, Danielle Hunter, kind of seems like the Vikings picked the right one. He's cheaper, younger, and did better. I don't know. I'm just saying. That's
also not to say that the Texans didn't make the right one either. Like, it's for where they are in different types of roster building eras and stuff like that. Like, you're at the start of building the Texans. I think Danielle Hunter's had a decent start to the season. He did,
but Gennard's still better, younger, and cheaper. That's all the argument. So why you didn't keep him, I'm not sure, but okay.
Yeah, interesting. With Aaron Jones, Aaron Jones rushed for 102 yards on 19 carries. Sam Darnold is currently second in the MVP racing from a lot of the stuff that I've seen. And I think it is largely down to the weapons that he has around him. So he has obviously best wide receiver in the league in Justin Jefferson, incredibly reliable, but he also has an incredibly reliable running back coming out of the backfield as well, which is always great for a quarterback who's trying to make his, let's be real, Sam Darnold is trying to make his way back into the league and stuff like that. So he is making his way and he's looking great while doing it. And it's perfect for the Vikings at the moment, the way that the defense is playing, the way that the offense is playing. And I genuinely think the Vikings might be the team that nobody wants to play in the NFC right now after the Saints getting beat by the Eagles.
No Diddy. Just had to throw that out there. We are a Diddy-free environment. But we have heard there ain't no party like a Diddy party. I'm just saying.
I think
damn, Shinny's catching strays too.
Just crazy. The comments section is going crazy. Everybody get in the comments section. Give us some stuff to talk about, stuff that you want to hear, and also make sure you like and subscribe as well. Another game that I thought was a pretty big surprise was the Rams versus the 49ers. I picked the Rams to be within I think it was within the 6, right? What was it? Within the 6.5. I thought they'd be within the 6.5, but I didn't think they'd have enough to get the win. The Rams beating the San Francisco 49ers 27-24.
That is not what happened.
Go on.
The San Francisco 49ers beat the San Francisco 49ers.
Go off. Tell us more.
They had the game in the bag. They let it they were up by double digits. How the fuck you let that game get away from you? You're up by 3 scores. How? I don't know. Like, that's it. They beat themselves. There's no way that game should have even been close. San Francisco had it in the bag and then shit the fucking bed.
Yeah, it was a pretty impressive collapse from the 49ers, given that the Rams have such a difficult offensive situation where it's like you have to run, and they're having to run against to run against a really great front on paper in the 49ers. And now Hargreaves is now injured after suffering a pectoral tear, so they're going to find that front obviously harder to deal with going forward as well. Jay, Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan? Who's the better coach? No, which one? Pick one.
They're both great coaches. Some reason McVay has Shanahan's number.
Yeah. I'm not going to say, I've heard people say that Kyle Shanahan isn't clutch, right? He falters in the big moments, he falters in the big games and stuff like that. And I don't think that's a fair comparison as what happens, because I'm not sure whether a coach can be clutch. Like, I'm not sure whether that's all down to a coach. Like, that's surely down to a team as a whole and the players to actually be clutch in those big moments. But there is something where if you get the measure of Kyle Shanahan, he seems to have these bogey coaches around the league, Brian Flores being one, Sean McVay being another, that he can't seem to get around. And once you've got the grips of what Kyle Shanahan's trying to do to you, it seems like it gets he finds that a bit difficult to then break out of and not be able to change the game whilst in the game. I think is a big thing. Whereas Sean McVay, I think, is always thinking, like, how I look at Sean McVay, like, he has dealt with much more adversity than Kyle Shanahan, especially this season and the season before as well, with injuries and those kind of things. And I think Sean McVay is a better developer of players than Kyle Shanahan's as well. So I'll take Sean McVay in that battle.
I'll take KOC over both of them.
I think KOC is definitely making a huge play for that. Jay, is the 49ers defense overrated? Maybe does it look maybe better on paper than it actually plays week to week, because they've had a few struggles so far this season?
So if you take the Vikings game out of it, like I said, like, I don't know what the fuck happened in the Rams game. They had that and they just gave it away. I'm not worried yet. Also, like, if you look at it, the only thing that really hurts in that division is that the Seahawks are, like, looking like they're running away, but they're going to come back down to earth too. I'm not worried about this division yet if I'm Shanahan or McVay.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not worried about this division at all if I'm either of them. And I'm not worried about my defense if I'm the 49ers. Like, you've got the players there to work this out. You'll be fine. Especially, like, some of that elite players in the spine of that defense as well. It's exactly the opposite of what the Cowboys have.
Hitman. It's Zuel-world.com. Buddy V's got all the MMA underground stuff, all the Yankee and the Brit stuff over there. You can find your Cardio is Keysam K shirt, Zuel-world.com.
There you go. Yeah, and I think the actual 49ers defense, they're really strong in the spine of the team. It's maybe the edges where they're struggling a little bit at places like corner. So that's a really great way to that's a much better way to have to build your team from in to out than having to go from out to in, which the Cowboys look like they're trying to do at the moment. And in the Cowboys division was one of the bigger upsets of the week. I'd say probably the biggest upset of the week, really. The Commanders beating the Cincinnati Bengals 38 points to 33. Jay, has Jayden Daniels asserted himself as the best in class? I know you thought it already, but has he arrived and asserted himself as the best in his draft class?
Yeah, and here's the thing. Yes. And I think J.J. McCarthy's already proven he's the second best without even playing from what we're watching on the field. And you give me Kevin O'Connell with a J.J. McCarthy, I'm with it. You know what I mean? More than this. And it's not that I don't, like we've talked about Caleb Williams. I think the problem with Caleb Williams is I think she's got kind of a bad attitude. I don't want to say I don't know how to put it, but when you're not willing to take any advice from CJ Stroud after a game and you comment on it, like we talked about this last week, I don't know what the problem is. Why? And even if you don't want to take it, why comment on it? It shows more about your character by making the comment, right? And that was what would scare me if I was the Bears. He already looks frustrated and beat up. So, yeah, Jayden Daniels is looking good. Jayden Daniels threw some fucking dimes. And if you go back and watch, he is hitting guys before the ball's out of his hands before the receiver comes out of his break. That is what we're looking for. We need anticipation, and he's already throwing with it. And that dude is so fucking athletic. He is so amazingly athletic. It's fun to watch him play.
Yeah, and with Jayden Daniels as well, it's that I forget who's throwing it to. It's Terry McLaurin, and it's about 30-yarder with the rusher right in his face, off the back foot, dropping it right into the window in the right corner of the just before the end zone, right on the pylon, basically, where only his defender can get it. And you're like, right, okay, that's fine. That's the passing accuracy right there. And that's what you want from these running quarterbacks. It's what we're not getting from Anthony Richardson right now, which is that accuracy. And Anthony Richardson makes those ridiculous big plays. But with the way that Jayden Daniels throws the ball and his accuracy level. So Anthony Richardson probably made one of the best throws I've ever seen in my entire life, when basically getting sacked off the back foot, 50 yards in the air, right in the bucket. But the rest of that game, he had a 59%. He had a 59% completion percentage, which is okay if you're making huge plays all of the time as well. Jayden Daniels in that game against the Bengals, who aren't a terrible defense, 91% completion percentage during that game as well. And there's a lot of easy completions there, but he's throwing some absolute dimes as well behind an offensive line that it looks better this season, but it's still the Commanders' offensive line. So he's having a great game, and it's exactly what we said we wanted to see from him last week, where we've seen the floor now. We've seen where the floor is, and it's good. We're happy with where that is. But can the Commanders unlock more in Jayden Daniels by letting him throw and letting him make those big plays? And he's just shown he can do it. And I hope, I don't hope that they release him, but obviously my division point of view and my Cowboys point of view, but for just the joy of watching a player like Jayden Daniels, I hope that we see more of that.
Stay tuned for our segment on overreactions, because I may have a couple from Maddie's division.
Great. Jay, are the Bengals going to recover from this early season slide? Because this week 3, that's usually the week where they put it right, okay? And they seem to put it right in week 2, and we were a bit like, oh, okay, here come the Bengals. But do you think that they can recover from this? They scored 33 points, but they gave up 38 to the Commanders. So what do you think that?
Can they recover? Yes. Do I think they're going to recover? I don't know. They look bad. They look extremely bad. And I know there was a time, it was last year or the year before, I really got some heat in one of the NFL groups because on our show I said Joe Burrow's not elite. He's in the class of really good. And people got mad at me for saying he wasn't elite and that he was in the class of really good. And I don't know. I put him with Josh Allen. I don't think they're elite. I think they're really fucking good NFL players, but they're not Patrick Mahomes. They're not Aaron Rodgers. They're not guys who are going to come out and light the world on fire. They'll have games, but it's not consistently where you're an elite quarterback week in and week out and I think Joe Burrow doesn't scare anybody anymore.
Yeah, with Joe Burrow, I don't think he was ever in the category of put you on the back and win you a game single-handedly, because that's not the kind of quarterback he is, right? Whereas Josh Allen, we can get in that elite thing and stuff, and Josh Allen can do that. Like, we know Josh Allen can do that.
That's what puts you in the really good, though, right? You can do it at times, but like elite greatness, 2 minutes left on the clock, you're down by 6, and it's Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers. I'm betting on both of those guys every time, even though they might not get it every time. I'm betting on it, and I'm shocked when they don't.
Yeah, definitely. And I think with Joe Burrow as well, like, I think Joe Burrow is always going to need a decent receiving core around him just because of the way that he wins games. And look,
is it coaching?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to get to, because he made that one throw to Jamar Chase, and I thought, right, here we go. Like, Bengals are about to run away with this. Like, Jamar Chase's touchdown was an absolute laser beam of a throw, and I thought, they've connected. Here we go. Ty Higgins then, in the next drive, makes a huge play on the sideline as well. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, here come the Cincinnati Bengals, ready to assert their claim to the AFC and all of that kind of stuff. They're about to put 40 on the Commanders and stuff. And they did score 33, like, just to be very fair to them. And then they just went away from those weapons. It felt like they just went away from it. And I genuinely think the Cincinnati Bengals have a serious coaching problem. I think if you start in that slowly every year, it's got to be down to the coaches. It's like what I say about Mike McCarthy is when you get to the playoffs, it's down to your coach needs to have your team in like the right spot. Well, when it's just down to the season, your coach needs to have the team in the right spot with the Cincinnati Bengals, because they just don't start the season strong. And I think they come into every season a bit undercooked, a bit underprepared, not ready to play. It's like when you see college football teams sometimes who haven't gone and done all the pads and all the pad work and all the pad banging and all of that kind of stuff. Like, we didn't see that. And where you don't see that, and they come out and they look soft. I wonder that if that's a bit of the Bengals as well. And as Hitman just said, they missed points because of bad decisions and points that would have won them the game. So I think Zach Johnson is the problem in Cincinnati. What do you think on that?
Oh, I'm reading Hitman here. Here, I'll throw it up. Would have had the game in the bag sooner, but just later on the league, there's been some weird decision making. Yeah. Sorry, Maddie. What did you ask again? I was reading that, and now I forgot.
I wonder if there is a coaching problem. And just on that, I think they got drawn in. So Jayden Daniels might have had one of the best games that any rookie QB has ever had, right? Because CJ Stroud had a great rookie season, and he had some great games, including that playoff game that they won. He looked amazing in that. But Jayden Daniels might have just had one of the best rookie games that we've ever seen. And I think they may have got drawn into that a little bit. And I think their coaches got drawn into that a little bit, which is why they left points on the board, and they were trying to go for things on fourth down, and they were trying to throw the ball when they should have just been running the ball. And because they were getting dragged into this shootout mentality that Jayden Daniels was dragging them into, when they could have just put the game away because they got off to a fast start and iced the game out by just putting it away. And they just didn't have that. And their running backs like Zach Moss and Chase Brown do not look as good as Joe Mixon either. So bad decision-making there in the front office too. So is it a Bengals coaching problem in your opinion, Jay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Zach Taylor's got to go. Like, that's just like, he's been being questioned since his first year being there.
Yeah, and I think it's
offense.
Yeah.
His offense is literally, here, Joe, go make something happen.
Yeah, it's got Joe Burrow to a point where he now gets injured every season. Like, is what his offense does, because they haven't built a decent offensive line to allow someone to do that either. So yeah, I think the Bengals may have a coaching problem. We could just skip this last reaction to week 4 if you fancy, Jay. Just let me off it.
What reaction? Oh, no. Oh, no. And I'll let you start because my dog's being pain and needs to come in.
Okay. So Jay has very kindly left me to suffer by myself in this reaction. It's the Dallas Cowboys game where the Dallas Cowboys scored 25 points and the Ravens beat them with 28. And Jay, they just got absolutely run off the park. They lost in the way that I thought they would lose, where it's just run up the middle. They looked weak against the run, and they didn't look great. And there's so many questions that need to be answered in that game, and the scoreline flatters them. I genuinely thought they were gonna come back there. I thought it was close. Like, you saw me in the group chat, Jay, when they made that onside kick. I thought they were coming back, but then I just remembered it's the Dallas Cowboys. They'll bring back the hope, and the hope is always what kills you. But they got run off the park, Jay. And Jay, did this game highlight the issues with the Cowboys offseason as well? So not getting those contracts done early with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb leads to not getting guys like Derrick Henry, not being able to bid for guys like Aaron Jones, not being able to get there. And we have no run game even when there's decent blocking, and when you can't run. And there wasn't decent blocking in lots of parts of this game either. So offensive line issues, especially at tackles. But does this game highlight that the running back room has been affected by poor offseason decision making?
Yeah, I think the running back room is a problem, but I think the biggest problem on that team is Mike Zimmer.
Yeah, I think I definitely think that there's a problem with the running back room, and I think it's an off-season issue. But the coaching hire of Mike Zimmer is definitely questionable. And Jay, I know you think, or you said in past shows, that the NFL might have let Mike Zimmer go by. And yeah, I agree with you. I was watching that game and I just thought, why aren't we adjusting to what's happening here? We can see, you knew what the Ravens were going to do to us every single play. It was just, let's hand it up to Derrick Henry and run up the middle. And they did start to stop it at the end of the third quarter. But it took to the end of the third fucking quarter to be able to stop anything. And it was ridiculous. My biggest pet peeve, Jay, was when last week you said before this game, I would play Micah Parsons, a middle linebacker, and rush every time from middle linebacker. They did it once in the game, and he completely annihilated the center, and he nearly got a sack on Lamar Jackson. And they never went back to it. And that made me so mad. Like, that annoyed me so much. But yeah.
This is the problem, too, is Zimmer doesn't – I don't know if people know this. Zimmer doesn't call plays as a defensive coordinator. He is in the head of his linebacker giving him concepts, and then it's on the play caller on the field to call the play after getting concepts. Eric Kendricks did it great, I think, in Minnesota. The problem is I'm seeing the same exact defense that I saw 8 years ago in Minnesota. Like, he has changed nothing from that double A gap blitz, and every team now in the league knows how to kill that defense.
Yeah, and I feel like the way that they're playing defense right now is kind of nullifying our playmakers as well, because we have playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. Like, I've never thought like we have the actual best defense in terms of like stopping yardage, not even necessarily in terms of stopping points, but our defense has always been able, for the past, when it was under Dan Quinn for the past 2 years, has always been able to change a game. But for the past 3 games, like, it hasn't looked like they've had that ability to change the game. That's not what it's looked like. And whether that's changed the game with a huge sack and a strip fumble or an interception or those kind of plays. But because we can't stop the run, nobody's throwing on our cornerbacks. And when they do, they're coming downhill for the run, so getting absolutely smoked in play action. And it's just like, I just feel like our entire playmaking core is just getting taken away on this defense. And I think Mike Zimmer is the problem. Let's see what he can do tonight. Jay, is staying on the defense just for a little bit here. Is Micah Parsons a good leader, though? Like, after the game, he came out and he spoke and said, I need my teammates to do more. I need my teammates to do more. That first touchdown, the whole drive is all on Micah Parsons not holding protection, not holding prevent against Lamar Jackson. Now, it's a role that I don't want to see him in. If the role of just the defensive ends for a quarterback like Lamar Jackson is just to maintain, contain, contain him inside, then I would rather have Micah Parsons in the middle of that trying to disrupt stuff while other people hold contain.
Nobody
to keep contained.
Nobody's setting the edge. Nobody on the defense is setting the edge either. I don't know if he's a good leader because he said a lot of shit in the few years he's been in the league on podcasts and different things that I think rub people the wrong way. And I know he's from Pennsylvania, but he's almost made it perfectly clear a couple times he'd rather be an Eagle, which is very weird to me. Well, you're still in Dallas. So I get that was your team growing up. I get you're a fucking, Penn State guy and like all that, but there's certain shit you just don't say. And sometimes when I feel like, not in a media setting of an interview, but in a podcast setting, he has said some shit you don't want a leader to say. And I don't know if he has grasped the whole idea of leadership yet. I don't know. And I don't know who is the leader on that defense. I was thinking that the other day, like when you think of teams, you can pick 1, 2, 3 guys who are the leaders of a unit, right? And I'm like, who is the leader? Is it Trayvon Diggs? I don't know. I don't know how serious Trayvon Diggs is. You know what I'm saying, though? Could it be Eric Kendricks? I doubt it. He ain't been there long enough. You know what I mean? To like earn the whole respect of that locker room. Who is the 1 or 2 guys on that defense who's going to hold everybody accountable if it's not Micah?
Yeah, when watching the team, so I want Micah Parsons to go and try and be Superman. That's what I want him to do every single play, but that's not what the leader can do on every single play. The leader sometimes just has to do your job, right? And the perfect leader that we had, who unfortunately had to retire this year, was Leighton Vander Esch. Leighton Vander Esch was the leader of that team. He led in tackles every year. He put his head in places it shouldn't go, which is why he had to retire early as well. And I thought Leighton Vander Esch is a much bigger miss to this defense than people are giving credit for, because we have linebackers in our team that are missing tackles, that are whiffing on tackles. If the Cowboys could tackle, that game would have been close, because the Ravens weren't doing anything crazy. They were just running down the throat, and it was just hit a tackle, just hit Derrick Henry around the knees, and make it tackle. Much easier said than done, but you're a professional football player, so make the tackle. Trayvon Diggs, not a leader. He whiffed on so many tackles. He made some business decisions last week. Like, you could see, he's an amazing cornerback, but as soon as you ask him to come downhill and tackle, again, on pass plays, he's an amazing cornerback. Don't ask him to come downhill and tackle. So I think we're missing a guy like Leighton Vander Esch. I think we're missing him much more than people give it credit for. And I also think Mike Zimmer's defense would work very well with a Leighton Vander Esch and an Eric Kendricks, and then someone like Overshown, who's been one of the highlights of the team since coming in, I think would necessarily work.
You're seeing the defense that got Mike Zimmer fired at the end of his career, like not tackling, corners not being elite lockdown, the league getting used to your play style, your double A gap blitz scheme, and there's no disguise. There's no disguise whatsoever with a Zimmer's defense, and unless you called it like 2 linebackers on the line, but nobody cares anymore about just watching 2 linebackers when 4 dudes have their hand in the dirt. That's easy for a quarterback now to pick out. I don't understand. Like, Zimmer went and did that interview where he said all that dumbass shit about when he left Minnesota, where he wouldn't even go talk to the players after he got fired because they're the ones who got me fired, that kind of shit. But he also said in that same interview, I came back to show people I could still coach. I don't think you can, Mike.
I think the one bit of actually interesting play calling on the defensive side of the ball actually worked. That's the other part of this, where they put Micah Parsons in the middle and said, just run over that center. And he didn't even have to run Micah Parsons basically played middle linebacker and went untouched towards Lamar Jackson, because he just stepped the center. He basically, we call it like dancing in a phone booth, is like what we call it. And he just danced right around him. It was so impressive. And then they just went away from that and didn't do it again. So I don't understand that. I think Micah should just shut up for a little bit until he's actually playing well. I don't mind Micah chatting all that shit when he's actually playing well. I don't mind that. But when you're the reason, Micah had a really shit game as well. Like Micah just refused to hold contain for like the first half. The first 3 quarters, he barely held contain the entire time. So, and you can't do that against this Ravens team. So I just don't. I shut up and don't say anything. Jay, does the Cowboys comeback mean anything? What did you make of their comeback towards the end? I think they eventually stopped the run in the fourth quarter, which is good. They bent their backs a little, actually made some tackles, which is normally the opposite of what happens with Derrick Henry in these games. So, all right. And then they got a few things going. Again, got a huge special teams play with an onside kick and those kind of things, like which the Cowboys seem to get good special teams plays. I'm not sure what to make of that comeback, though, Jay. What do you make of it?
I never once really felt you guys had a shot at a comeback because good luck on 2 onside kicks in a row in a league where no onside kicks usually get recovered anymore. You got the one. And I think the Ravens laid off and were playing clock. I think they took their foot off the gas and were playing clock more than they were playing the Cowboys at the end of that game. I think that game is actually take the first 3 quarters of that game, and that's who the Cowboys were on Sunday. And I there's some shit that really needs to be fixed. And I don't know if – so I read an article that there's a belief that Jerry Jones is taking all this heat for the bad choices Steven Jackson's been making. That Jerry's taking the heat for his son.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I think he might believe that the Cowboys are on the route to a comeback in the next few games, and he's happy taking the blame as long as everybody knows that he gets 100% of the credit when they come back. That's what I think it may be, because Jerry Jones doesn't give a shit as to like what people say about him right now. Like he's 80 odd, you know, like he doesn't care if people have bad stuff to say about him, but he wants to make sure that people have good stuff to say about him. That's where he's at. You know, he's like, oh, you can slag me off all you want. That doesn't affect me. But what does make me really feel good is when people say good shit about me. So I wonder if it's more that. But yeah, I think the running back room, the rest of the front office decisions, I don't necessarily hate. Like, I think Tyler Guyton had a bad game. I don't think he's a bad player. I think he was okay. I think he had a few bad plays, like really bad plays, but then was all right for like the rest of it.
I know you don't want to hear it, but I think your offensive line is a real problem and going to continue to be a problem.
Yeah, I think Tyler Guyton had a bad game at left tackle, like definitely. And I'm not sure it's like I think he's been fine the other two, but your rookie left tackle should be allowed to make a few bad plays. But if your vet right tackle, who we all know was terrible coming into this season, like Steele, we all knew he wasn't it. Like, if he's making terrible play after terrible play after terrible play, then Dak really has nowhere to go. If the left tackle is then also making a few bad plays every game, I think the interior of the line, so Zach Martin, Cooper Beebe, okay, and Taylor Smith, I think there is a making of a great interior line there, and it could do more run grading and those kind of things. But Rico Dowdle and Zeke leave so many yards on the table. Like, you just watch it, they leave so many yards on the table. And I think Cooper Beebe, and I think in the interior they were fine. It was on the edges they just were awful.
I think you guys have one of the worst centers in the NFL.
I don't agree with you on Cooper Beebe. I think he's an upgrade.
His protection calls are ass, and that's his job. Complete ass.
He'll get better than that.
And you can't get pushed back 3 yards on 80% of the plays off the jump.
Yeah, I think
that
in
puts
terms
Dak in a bad place.
Yeah, definitely. I think they held on. I think they held all right in the interior. I must have not been watching close enough.
He didn't let him get all the way. But when you're getting knocked back 3 yards by the fucking defensive tackle, that gives pressure on everybody. And now they had to slide a lot of protection to him too, which I think hurts. Like, I think that hurts. And I don't even want to blame him. You take a guy who's never played center and go, hey, now you're an NFL center, so good luck.
Yeah. I think he'll improve. I think it's important to remember that it's a rookie center and a rookie left tackle, right? And they're allowed to have bad games. But when you're pushing for trying to be a contender and those kind of things, they're positions that you have to have locked down, and they don't have it locked down, and that's no good. And I think CeeDee Lamb, that fumble killed us. the fumble in the red zone, that's what took the game out there. Because it was if
Do
we
you know
got
who
that,
you turned into?
go on.
The Mike Zimmer Vikings. You have a great
Yeah.
wide receiver. You have a fucking above average quarterback. You have an offensive line that's failing you, and you got a defense that's failing you, and people still expect you to win.
Yeah, I'll lay off on the offense. I lay more judgment to the offensive line. I think they might have just had a bad game, but we'll see. And then I thought CD was awful. I thought CD Lamb had a terrible game against the Ravens, and I think it's basic football as well is what he did poorly. Like that fumble is basics. Like took the ball away as soon as you catch it. Like took it away. And I think he was letting his frustration out. And I've seen this with CD Lamb. He's a really poor lead. You very rarely see this with Justin Jefferson where he knows he's going to be double, triple covered the entire time. And he very rarely lets it boil over. But CD Lamb, I thought, was just frustrated from the jump in that game.
This isn't a shot at CD, but like he's not as good as Jefferson. So he's not going to get the targets when he's tripled that Jefferson still knows he's going to get. So I think the frustration comes out is I can't help my team win right now. Like I think that's the frustration.
I'm not saying it's coming from a bad place, but then if you have your best player freaking out on the sideline, it then puts everybody else into panic mode of freaking out. And obviously Dak threw 51 times. Like we're never going to win football games if Dak Prescott is having to throw the ball 51 times.
Really?
And that's not
Do you maybe want to tell that to the Chicago Bears and their rookie quarterback who threw 52 times?
Yeah, crazy. Crazy stuff. Okay. So the Cowboys have a chance to get a get-right game. The Ravens, I thought the Ravens looked good. I thought that was the best that the Ravens offense looked.
If the Cowboys lose tonight, you have a real fucking problem.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
And I'm not saying he's any good, but Daniel Jones didn't look bad last week. He didn't.
He looked fine.
And Malik Neighbors can play, but we all knew that coming out of the draft. I just didn't know if going to the Giants was going to hinder him, but I think he is good enough to show even with a bad quarterback, I'm good.
Yeah, it's now we're just waiting on Rome Odunze, and then all three of those rookie wide receivers have shown out. I thought the Ravens obviously looked a bit shaky at the end. Because I get it. I get it, right? Because you're playing like prevent, which me and you both hate. Like I hate that when people go to prevent defense and play the clock. I think you just with NFL teams, you just can't give them a sniff. You know, you can't let them back in the game. You can't let that happen, and you're just letting good players back in the game, and you're not putting them away if you're playing things like prevent. So I never get that. I don't understand why you do that, but I get that's what they're doing. But the sideline looked shook. Like when that onside kick happened and when Derrick Henry nearly fumbled as well, like 2 minute one.
I think they were afraid. I agree. I think they looked at it and go, oh, fuck, not again.
Yeah.
But they got it back together. They held on. I think that's actually a building point moving forward, but I agree with you. There was a time on the sideline where as a fan, you ever watch something and go, fuck, here we go.
Yeah, and John Harbaugh
feel like the snowball effect's going to happen, and
John Harbaugh looked like that, which I think is crazy for him to look like that because he's seen it all. Right, the only player who didn't look like that was Lamar Jackson, and what was it that iced the game out? Lamar Jackson making 2 excellent plays at the end of the game. Like Lamar Jackson went right, okay, everybody's freaking out. I'll make sure we get this over the edge, and I thought when he made those 2 plays, I was just like, all right, okay. Yeah, fine. Like Lamar Jackson's just beat us. Like that's.
I mean, if Harbaugh goes 0-3, they're literally for the first time in his career in Baltimore probably talking about is it time for the Ravens to move on from John Harbaugh? Yeah. So
yeah, I think them getting over the line, especially the way that Lamar did it, is big for them. I think good win for the Ravens. I think the Cowboys I thought it was a bad matchup for the Cowboys. I think the Ravens were good, and I think the Cowboys were particularly bad. Okay,
I think the Cowboys are more talented and lost, so that's a problem.
They shit the bed as well. I thought like they have a problem with getting smacked in the mouth like at the start of a game. Like if they concede a touch, they're completely built to play in front, and if they concede a touchdown on the things like the first or second or third drive of the game, like they're in trouble from that point on. Like if they're not scoring points in response, they're in trouble immediately from that point on. Best player for the Cowboys again, Brandon Aubrey. unbelievable. Like, means we can basically score from our own half, which is nice. But
I said it right in that fucking group chat of ours. I said, dude, Aubrey is a weapon.
He's actually a weapon now. Like, and by the way, Justin Tucker's completely lost it. It looks like Justin Tucker's got the yips. Like, he smoked one.
I guess what's going on is he has a strain, and he changed his motion to try to make up for the pain, and it's not working.
Right.
I think they got to bring somebody in and just let him heal. But
yeah, sit him for a little bit. Yeah, that's what I would do. Okay. Moving on to segment 2, Jay. Week 3 overreactions. This is where we give our overreactions to what happened in week 3. Just a reminder that these are overreactions. We're not necessarily 100% behind them yet, but these are overreactions. Jay, what is your first overreaction from week 3?
The Commanders are the best team in the NFC East.
Wow, that's good. Do you know what? They look like the best team in the NFC East.
It's an overreaction, but they looked good. They look fucking good.
Last week they looked really good. Like, I'm not sure they have the consistency and the talent to keep.
I agree.
I think the Eagles got a good. I think the Eagles' defense playing really well against the Saints, I think, is a bigger deal than how bad their offense looked against the Saints. I think their offense has always been fine, so they'll be okay. And I think the Cowboys will do what they do and just absolutely smoke some bad teams and stuff like that. But yeah, Jay, mine is to do with the Commanders as well. I actually have 2 from the Commanders Bengals game, but my first overreaction is Jayden Daniels is already a top 10 quarterback. I think just with that weapon, the weapons that he possesses with his legs and the accuracy that he has, doing it on what is traditionally a terrible football team, I think he looked great. I think he could be a top 10 quarterback. Jay, overreaction number 2.
So, Micah Parsons, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase should all demand trades today.
Go on. Why should they demand trades today?
Because their teams are shit and they're not being, and all 3 of them are not being used correctly.
I obviously don't agree with you in terms of Micah because I don't think the team is shit, but I do agree that he's not being used correctly. It's what we've already spoken about. He wasn't used correctly.
Do you really believe the Cowboys are a contender? Because they were for 3 years in a row, and now I don't think they are at all.
I think if they get into the playoffs, they have a puncher's chance against everyone, and I still think they'll win the NFC East. I just think I think they need a get right game just to just smoke somebody terrible and just remember who they are as a defense. That's what I think they need.
I think everybody's going to be shocked when the fucking Commanders win that fucking division.
Yeah. All right. My overreaction number 2 is that I'm not sure whether this is that hot of a take, to be honest. Zach Taylor, head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, will be sacked by the end of the year. Not at the end of the year, during the season by the end of the year.
All right.
I think he's
I don't think it's the worst take.
I think he's their biggest problem. And if you're the Bengals, you need to get Jamar Chase on side before it's time to sign his contract. So, yep. Jay.
All right. So I do have a third one, and then I have an honorable mention before we move on. But my third one is the Seahawks will win the NFC West.
I like that. That is a hot take. I like that a lot. I think the Seahawks, obviously 3-0, but it's built on really good defense and then just really solid offense with some ridiculous playmakers like DK Metcalf.
Pete who?
Yeah. Who's Pete Carroll?
Yeah,
who? Pete Carroll, Yeah. They've never needed Pete Carroll. Who's that guy? Yeah, I think they look great. I really like them. Jay, my final take is that the Cleveland Browns are the worst team in the NFL, not the Carolina Panthers. And I don't think many people were saying that at the start of the season, but from what I've seen from them, I think they're the worst team in the NFL.
I totally disagree, but I'm not mad at that take.
They've got beat by the Cowboys, who... Oh, there we go. I'm back. They got beat by the Cowboys, who've been blown out 2 weeks in a row. The Panthers actually won a game against the Raiders and looked semi-decent. And then they've got beat by the Giants and Daniel Jones. And
that Panthers win, though, that's that, we got some juice from and we happen to play the Raiders, who are really bad. But yes, I get it.
The Ravens, I think they were on a bit of a come down game, the Raiders as well. But yeah. Okay, Jay, your honorable mention.
Right now, on Tuesday, it should have happened Monday or Tuesday. They should have fired McCarthy and Zimmer and hired Bill Belichick, the Cowboys.
That's a good one. I wouldn't hire Bill Belichick, but my feelings towards Mike McCarthy as an actual head coach. I don't think he's...
Have you been watching Belichick on all these shows? Like, he is so likable. It is the weirdest thing. Like, I fucking love this guy. Yeah,
and weirdly, then Tom Brady is like not that likable.
I don't understand that. I like Brady calling games. I don't think he's bad. I don't get where people are so hateful, but I
don't think he's horrendous. I think his first game was he's been on the Cowboys all 3 games so far this season, so I've seen that. He was good he was poor in week 1, was a bit crap in week 2, and he was much better in week 3. So just getting his feet underneath him, Tom Brady.
See, I didn't think he was bad. I literally enjoyed listening to him. Now, does he have to like tighten things up? But like, he knows so much. I think people just look at a reason to hate because I'm a big fan of Collinsworth, and most people like to take shots at Collinsworth. So maybe it's me who's a weirdo, but I think that like people just hate when people are like elite at something, and Collinsworth became the elite announcer. And Brady's known as the GOAT, and I think people just fucking hate. But I could be wrong. I could be the weirdo in this whole thing.
Yeah, in the UK, like, we don't pay that much attention to our broadcasters. Like, it seems like more news in the US. Like, we don't really pay that much attention to who's calling the game. We just like
to bitch about everything.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I mean, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck are loved and hated by half the country.
Yeah, I don't know.
Romo used to be loved, now hated.
I don't get that. I think Romo's the best, but obviously I'm very biased. He's also my favorite quarterback of all time. So
I'm a Romo fan because he's from Wisconsin, but I've said this on the show before. I'm not a huge fan of him as an announcer. So
yeah, I think he has the same thing as Tom Brady. Where I think the reason that people don't like Tom Brady is because he calls things a little early because he's already seen it. And I think Tony Romo had that problem as well. But Tony Romo was like drawing it up early. Like he was like, future telling the game.
I don't think being drunk at those award ceremonies and making yourself look like an ass helped Tony Romo's case at all either. Like, and then you do Corona commercials and then do that. So then the jokes just start flying and it makes it easier to pile on. And
I just don't think that should be a surprise to anyone with what we know about Tony Romo.
And if you're from Wisconsin, we literally have shirts that say "Drink Wisconsinably."
Yeah. And who wouldn't want? I think Tony Romo might be one of my favorite people I would ever want to share a pint with as well. I think that's just what you'd love to go drinking with Tony Romo.
You said a pint. At first, I thought you said pipe, like you're going to smoke some weed with him. And then I was like, wait, that's not really Maddie's thing. So, wait, okay, a pint, yeah.
Okay, Jay, moving on to segment 3, and it's rookie quarterback watch. So, Jay, we'll start off. We've already spoken about him. How far can Jayden Daniels go?
This year?
Just the whole thing.
This year, I think they can be in the mix for a wild card spot at the end of the year. That doesn't mean they'll make it, but I think we'll be talking about it. I think the sky's the limit for Jayden Daniels as long as he can legitimately learn how to slide.
Yeah, he did one.
Right, but they need to bring in a baseball player and teach him how to do a nice
just hit over and over again.
Hit the ground a couple times where I'm like, you're going to injure yourself with the way you're going down.
One really slick slide in around the second quarter, and then the rest of it was just like those weird forward rolls that he's had to do because he's like running so fast. He's about to try and take on a linebacker and then realizes that he should go to the ground. So he just like falls forward and has to do a forward roll.
Yeah, he does this weird fetal position thing and looks like he kind of bounces. It's like weird.
It also just looks like, please don't hurt me, like as you go forward. And when you're like his build and his style of quarterback, like don't take unnecessary hits. Like there's no reason for Jayden Daniels to ever get hit, to be honest. Like if Jayden Daniels can get out of games without taking a single tackle, like that's great, in the NFL. But yeah, I think that Jayden Daniels can go all the way. I think he might be a top 10 quarterback already with just the way he's taken to the game, and the way he reads the game, I think, is really good as well. And he's shown more maturity than the other rookie quarterbacks and the second-year quarterbacks as well, when we're talking about his maturity level in terms of like when to not make the big play compared to Will Levis and Anthony Richardson and a guy who we'll talk about next, Bo Nix. Did Bo Nix arrive this week? Can we expect this going forward from Bo Nix? What did you make of his performance for the Denver Broncos this week?
I think Sean Payton may have finally arrived, and he's starting to understand his young core. We know that Bo Nix has limitations, but we also know there's things that Bo Nix does at a very high level, and I think it's both. I think Bo Nix is finally getting a little bit of feel of how fast the NFL is compared to college, and I also think Sean Payton's finally learning what to do with his quarterback and whatnot, and I think this is just for the Broncos this year. It's let's just get our feet under us, see what we have at every position, play the best we can, and who gives a fuck about the record? That's what I think the Broncos like mindset should be. It's the NFL. It is never that. But if you're the ownership, that's literally how you have to look at this is I'm not going to overreact to bad games because we have a rookie quarterback and a coach who is just figuring out what to do with the talent. And this is honestly really just the whole first year that we're starting to see Peyton's guys finally come into the fold because he took over a team last year that he had very little to do with assembling.
Yeah, definitely. And I think where Bo Nix looked really good, I thought he was very steady in the pocket. But then I also think he just went, okay, it's not here, and just took off. And he's surprisingly athletic. Like how Brock Purdy's also surprisingly athletic, you know? Like you don't expect him to make a 13-yard gain, right, in the NFL. But he was running away from a couple of linebackers at points and stuff like that. So I think Bo Nix had a really great game in terms of just understanding he's got limitations and just knowing his game, which is why me and you thought he would have a good season coming into the NFL, because I think we just assumed he would already understand his game because he's the most experienced college quarterback we've ever seen.
And part of the problem, and it's not his fault, is he probably should have been drafted in the second round, but because of the way the quarterbacks went, he went 12th overall, so it's going to put undue pressure on a kid that it's not his fault that he went that high.
Yeah, and he just had to go to a team. He was either going to the Broncos or the Raiders, who both see themselves as a quarterback away. Whether that's right or wrong, that's where the fan base is, and that's where some of the analysts see themselves. So it's already like a pretty big pressure situation. Also going to, and it's not necessarily like that he shouldn't have gone in the first round. It's just he does have those limitations that usually is a second round quarterback. Kind of like your toolsy quarterbacks and stuff like that sometimes jump up to the first round when they probably have the experience levels and the actual quarterback play of a second and third round. And then your players who have the experience and the quarterback play of what we want from a first rounder, but don't have the tools, fall to the second and third round because they're not like Bo Nix is never going to be the reason that the Broncos win a game, but he'll also never be the reason. Hopefully, they hope that he will never be the reason that they lose a game, which he was over the first 2 weeks.
And we'll never know for sure, but I would love to see what the Broncos would have done if him and Penix were both sitting there.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would have been an interesting one. And I think the Broncos actually kept him upright as well. That's going to help. Like that's going to help him from not freaking out and throwing ridiculous sacks.
They don't have a lot of skilled position talent either. We need to get Bo Nix more talent before we can make a fair assessment of this kid.
Yeah, and I thought he played the game that I want him to play. Okay, and the final question in our segment 3 of rookie quarterback watches. Do the Bears have a Caleb Williams problem, or does Caleb Williams have a Chicago Bears problem?
He definitely has a Chicago Bears problem. I don't know if they have a Caleb Williams problem because the Bears just made him throw 52, 53 fucking times. Like you can't. I don't want Patrick Mahomes throwing that many times. I don't want Aaron Rodgers throwing that many times. I don't want any quarterback. I don't want Allen. I don't want Burrow. So what the fuck are you doing with a rookie? I think what we proved is Eberflus cannot coach. He is being shown that in a division with KOC, with Johnson, with LaFleur, he is out fucking coached by every offensive coach in that division. And I would say Flores and fucking I forget the new dude they brought into Green Bay. They're already showing that he's defensively outmatched by coordinators too. Like, fire this fucking guy right now would just, and I know I say fire people this early.
Yeah,
you don't fire somebody in week 3 because what do? You don't have a real solution, but they need to move on. And I know everybody kept saying best situation I've ever seen a rookie quarterback come into, and you and I talked about it, and it was like, what are they seeing that I'm not seeing is what I was wondering all offseason, right? Yeah. And I don't think he's in as good a situation as people think.
I see why people think he's in a good situation. I get it, because the defense has played decently, but the defense has been okay, has good players on it and has been okay. You also come into a system with like 3 good weapons. Like, people will make now like it's the best wide receiver core in the league. That's just not true. But it's a good wide receiver room for a guy picked first overall, as well. But the problem is that they're asking him to play like he did at USC. And just a reminder, in his last year at USC, when he was having to play even more superhero ball, he also didn't play as well. Like, he still played very well, but he didn't play as well as what people would expect him to. This is your rookie QB trying to get used to the NFL. And what confuses me is that he looks great on like the first 2 drives of games when everything's scripted and they've worked everything out like going in. He looks really composed and really good. And then as the game goes on, he seems to have to play more and more superhero ball, more and more like crazy throws and making pretty shit decisions. They combined for 4 interceptions, him and Anthony Richardson. One of them was 50-50 whether it was Caleb's fault or not. Seemed to be a bit of miscommunication with the wide receiver and stuff like that. So don't know when it comes to that kind of stuff. But like, he just tries to play the superhero ball and tries to play out. And it's just, I just want to see a game where they just go like, okay, Caleb, just play in the system. We're going to hand this ball off. You're still going to get your like 25 to 30 throws. Like, you're still going to get that. But we shouldn't be anywhere near 30. Like, we really should. And it's just a lack of creativity in the run game, I think, as well.
Bad coaching for sure.
Yeah, bad coaching, definitely. Okay, Jay, into segment 4, and it's our final bit of week 3. It's our week 3 awards. Jay, your week 3 MVP.
Jayden Daniels.
Week 3 MVP, nice. For me, my week 3 MVP is Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers.
I was going to go with Brian Flores, just so you know. I was.
Yeah, I like Brian Flores. That would have been fun as well. I nearly went for Matt LaFleur on mine as well, just for the coaching job that they've done in Green Bay since the injury. But I think Aaron Rodgers, I think watching that game, I watched it and went, this is a quarterback clinic. Like, if you want to show, they should show this to Caleb Williams. This is the game that they should take and just say, Caleb Williams, sit down in front of this game. And Aaron Rodgers just diced up and just played incredibly well. And Jay, if your week 3 MVP is a rookie, who is your week 3 rookie MVP?
Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, mine's also Jayden Daniels. I think like it would just be crazy to have anyone else. Unfortunately, my darling for my week 3 rookie best player of the season, Joe Alt, has been injured.
Another honorable mention though for the week 3 MVP is Jalen Carter.
Yeah. I thought he had a good game. Like, I slagged him off a little bit in the pre-show on Sunday, and I thought he had a really great game as well. I thought he was awesome. Okay, so we're done. Week 3 is in the books. That's it. We're over week 3. We're moving on. Moving on now into segment 5, which is the Thursday night preview. Now, Jay, we've already spoken about the Cowboys a lot, but it's the Giants versus the Cowboys. The Cowboys are 6-point favorites in this game, which when the spreads were released 2 days ago.
5.5 as of this morning.
As of this morning, the Cowboys were 4.5-point favorites 2 days ago, which I was like, give me that every single day. But I looked at 3 o'clock, and on DraftKings, they were 6-point favorites. So we'll have to go with the 6-point favorites because that's where we are. But the Giants versus the Cowboys, 6-point favorites. Is this a get-right game for the Dallas Cowboys, Jay?
So the 6 point has me a little weirded out now because I went off 5.5 to be honest, but I have them as one of my locks of the week.
I would. They were nearly one of my locks of the week as well. Look, the Dallas Cowboys match up really, really well against the Giants. I think Dak Prescott has a crazy record against the Giants, and I know that's like the Giants are just haven't been a good team pretty much since Dak Prescott's been there. But when they don't have great offensive line play. They have a quarterback who makes awful decisions when he's under pressure. Like Daniel Jones is okay when he's got time to throw, just like every other NFL quarterback when they've got time to throw. But he's awful when he gets pressured into making decisions. And that's the kind of team that the Dallas Cowboys love to play against. The poor offensive line with a quarterback who makes bad decisions. And I know that's who everybody wants to play against, but the Dallas Cowboys take huge advantages over that. The one thing I am worried about is the defensive tackle of the Giants having a good game against Cooper Beebe, as you say, pushing him back and pushing him back. And look, the Giants have an okay run game.
Lawrence is a monster. So
yeah. We'll see how Cooper Beebe is this week. I'm going to highlight him on every single play jam. I'm going to watch what happens. I'll watch out for what you've been saying. And also the Giants have an okay run game. I think that could be the undoing. And obviously Malik Neighbors as well. But Trayvon Diggs should just be tracking Malik Neighbors all game, I would say, which they won't do because Trayvon Diggs just tends to play on the right side and Carson on the left. So they won't do that, but they should. I think the Cowboys win this game by 6.
If you're the Cowboys and they lose to the Giants, do people get fired this week?
I don't think they will fire people this week. It's not Jerry Jones' style. Like, he held on to Jason Garrett for 8 years, Like, it's not his style. I would call Bill Belichick and say, do you fancy coming and being a defensive coordinator for a little bit? And I'm sure he'll say no. I know he'll say no, but I'll just call him and see what he says. Or some sort of defensive advisor, and if Mike McCarthy continues to be shit, then you get the head coaching job, That would be an interesting thing to see. But I think the Cowboys win by 6 in this game. How much does the Giants win last week actually mean for them going forward, Jay?
0.
Yeah, I think the Browns might be the worst team in the league. And the Giants
could have beat the fucking Chiefs and it would have meant 0 because they're bad and they just won a game and it's the NFL and that happens. And
yeah, and your rookie wide receiver went crazy. Like there are some plays in that Daniel Jones fucked up. Daniel Jones missed on like a few of those plays. There's a play where Malik Neighbors has to 360 in the air because Daniel Jones misses by that much and he makes a play. Like that's where we're at with the Giants at the moment.
Something about those LSU receivers, I don't know, right? Like something
running down in the water in Louisiana, just creating crazy plays. We've already talked about some of the most important matchups of the week, Jay. I think the Dallas Cowboys cornerbacks on Malik Neighbors is pretty big. I think Micah Parsons up against this offense. What I want to see actually is Lawrence have a big game. Lawrence hasn't really shown up so far this season. And then how can the interior line hold on to the Giants' D tackle in Leonard Williams? How can they hold him up? And Thibodeau's looked okay as well, so maybe the edge as well.
Yeah, well, with Dexter Lawrence and Thibodeau, they should be getting a lot more pressure than they are too. But It's hard on a quarterback when the center of that fucking line moves because then you have to get outside, where at least if it's coming from the outside, you can maneuver in the pocket. So it's going to come into your interior line to try to figure out what to do with the big, massive dude like Dexter Lawrence coming through.
It doesn't have the run game either. Jay, if this wasn't a short week game, do you think Dalvin Cook would have been activated to the roster for this game?
I think they're fucking morons for not activating in week 1.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. I kind of get not activating in week 1. I get like you want to see what you have in Deuce Vaughn because like young guy and all of that kind of stuff, but we don't have anything. So let's just activate Dalvin Cook and see if we've got something. He's on my fantasy bench, by the way, everybody. Still been trading around I can't let go of Dalvin Cook because the 1 week I let go of him, I'll be activated to the Cowboys roster.
You could have that old Tennessee Titans smash and dash type with, and I don't with Zeke and Delvin. So I don't understand what they're doing.
And Rico Dowdle is a very good third string running back. Like Rico Dowdle has his moments of good play, and Rico Dowdle and Zeke are also excellent pass blocking running backs as well. Like it feels like we've got running backs that we're basically using as another offensive lineman. That's how we're using our running backs at the moment.
And Dalvin Cook's proven his career that he can pick up the blitz. So
he's fine.
I don't know what they're doing.
Our fullback looked really good, made some big plays. Lipke number 40. Lipke looked very good as well. Okay, so we're both on for the Cowboys beating the Giants by 6, right? Yeah. Okay. Are you taking it as a lock of the week still?
Yes, that's one of my locks of the week.
One of your locks of the week. Okay. And Jay, it's the end of the podcast now. We are moving on to segment 6. We always finish these Thursday night shows with our locks of the week going into week 4. And Jay, we've already got one of your locks of the week, which is the Dallas Cowboys -6 against the New York Giants. I'll go in with my first one then as well. And that's the Cincinnati Bengals -4 against the Carolina Panthers. Like, not a big fan of the Bengals, but I think we may have over-adjusted here. Right? The Panthers have been... The Bengals were just favorites by a touchdown against the Commanders, who were half decent. They're now playing against the Panthers, and they're only favorites by -4. I think that's I'm taking that every day of the week for the Bengals. I think we might be over adjusting on both teams there.
I looked at it and I just thought to myself, this wave of energy could last 3 weeks with the new quarterback, and I just not comfortable with the way the Bengals are playing right now. So I ended up staying away from it because that could be one of those shocking upsets.
Yeah, another one to add into this season. Okay, Jay, number 2.
All right, my number 2 lock of the week is Chiefs -7 over the Chargers.
Okay, tell me why, because I looked at that.
Justin Herbert's not 100%, and the Chiefs the Chargers are never going to be able to win a game where they're down by double digits, and the Chiefs just jump on them right away in this game. And I think they're going to beat them up and make them look very, very pedestrian, because the only way you win as the Chargers is you have to run the ball. And I think people always keep sleeping on the Chargers defense. Also, I keep hearing, oh, is Travis Kelce washed up? He's only got 2 receptions. He's only this. Kelsey's open. It's Mahomes who's not playing lights out right now. It's actually Mahomes who's not playing like Mahomes, which should fucking scare people, because by the end of the year, he will be Patty Mahomes. So I think people should be scared of that Chiefs team.
I don't understand how people are getting drawn into forgetting how good the Chiefs defense is again. You know, like we did the same last year. We did this dance last year. You know, the Chiefs are now a team that win defensively and can blow you out offensively, but they make sure they get it over the line offensively, but they're winning defensively. And if you can only run the ball, and Chris Jones is the defensive tackle that you're coming up against, you're going to struggle. Like, that's going to be a difficult week.
And their corners will get up there and tackle too. So
yeah. Trent McDuffie is an absolutely insane person, by the way.
Magnolia, Spags, and B-Flow, 2 best defense coordinators in the NFL as of right now through 3 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. I would have to agree with you on that one. I also think with if I'm Hubble, I'm thinking about sitting Herbert this game. Like, I know it's a divisional rivalry. Like, I get it. And Hubble won't, because it's his first divisional rivalry. It's his first game against the Chiefs, who are the big division rivals for everybody. So I get it. Like, I get not doing it, but I wouldn't play him. I would just let him get right, because even with him in, you've just got to run the ball.
We'll talk about it more on Sunday, but I've been saying the same thing about the Packers. But as a Vikings fan, I hope they play Jordan Love. I don't want the athletic quarterback back there. Give me Jordan Love, who's not 100% and his knee's not 100%, to go against Brian Flores. So I'm with you. Like, why would you trot out your star quarterback in a game where they're already injured, where they could get fucked up even worse? I don't understand that.
You're probably going to lose if he's healthy. Like, that's the other part of that as well. Did you have -7 or -7.5 on the Chiefs?
It's 7, but I don't care if it's 7.5 on yours.
Okay. We'll take the 7. Okay, with my second pick, I've got the LA Rams. The LA Rams are +3 against the Chicago Bears. Like, let's have a reminder of what happened last week. The Bears lost to the Colts, where Anthony Richardson is trying to give them the win. And the Rams beat the 49ers with all of their injuries. Like, that's what happened last week. We also have Sean McVay as a coach versus Matt Eberflus as a coach. We also have Matthew Stafford versus rookie Caleb Williams as players as well. And Kyrien Williams might be one of the best running backs in it. Like, Caleb Williams might be a top 5 running back in the league as well, and can make stuff happen where it shouldn't happen and all of that kind of stuff. They've still got the weapons. Sean McVay still got a great run game. Rams +3 is an everyday take for me.
I don't hate it. The only thing that made me question it when I was looking at it is, will the Rams have that emotional letdown after that fucking big win and what it took to get the win at the end of that game last week?
Yeah, maybe looking into that as well. Jake, your third and final lock of the week.
I have the Jets -7.5 over the Broncos.
Yeah, so I nearly took that one as well, but then I got just worried about the Broncos riding on a high and worried. I don't trust the Jets. I feel like I'm just probably never going to bet on the Jets because I just don't really trust them. But Aaron Rodgers was my MVP of last week. I thought he played really well. I think they're still not playing to their full potential, the Jets, and that should scare a lot of teams in the AFC.
I had to ask, though, before we get out of here, what don't you trust about the Jets? Like, wide receiver room, really good. Running back room, really good. Quarterback, really good. Offensive line, playing good. Defense, out of this world. I don't know what you don't like.
Organizationally, traditionally horrendous. Like I think it's when we thought that the Lions were this next huge team and whatever. Like, we never really thought that, and we went. Just a reminder that the Lions have never been good ever. And look, I think the Jets are great. I think they're really good. I just don't think I would ever put my money on the line for the New York Jets. I think that's just where I am with it. And I hate 7-point spreads as well. So that's the Jets. Or you, I've got them a -6.5.
I like that better.
You can have the -6.5. For me, Jay, for my final pick, I have the Titans +1. The Titans are going into a game where they are +1. I feel like I've been teased by the Titans throughout this whole season, but the Dolphins, Mike McDaniels hasn't shown me he can coach out of adversity yet this season. They looked very, very lackluster offensively, which is going to help the Titans, who have a really good defense. And all Will Levis has to do, and I know it's a big if with Will Levis, is just not fucking turn the ball over. Or at least, if you're going to turn the ball over, at least do it on a play where you're trying to do something, not flipping something out to the flat and just trying to give away pick sixes, So I've got the Titans +1 in that game as a lock. I think that's a Titans win there. It definitely is what I would take on that game. And Jay, they are our locks of the week. I'm feeling good about my locks, and I was looking at yours and I was like, I think I would go that way on all of those games as well.
The only thing that would make me worried about your last one is if Tyler Huntley plays. I don't trust the Titans at all, and I think Tyler Huntley could beat him with his legs, and that would open up the wide receivers.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I think Mike McDaniels with Tyler Huntley in 3 weeks' time will be fun to watch. I think that'll be a fun watch for a lot.
He's going to be better than Skylar Thompson no matter what.
Yeah. He's got to be better. It can't get worse. It can't get worse. So we'll see if he plays. I kind of hope for the Miami Dolphins' sake he does play. I have Devon Achane running back in my fantasy team as well. I've been thinking about trading him because it's just sell everything out to stop Achane at the moment. But if they get a Huntley in playing at quarterback, then they have to at least think about Huntley, which then makes them have to think about Hill, which then makes them have to think about Waddle, which means they're back on with that crazy team again. But I think the Titans actually have a pretty good defense to like deal with that kind of stuff, and I don't see the Dolphins getting anything going this week.
I just don't think Will Levis is. The more I watch him, I don't think he's an NFL quarterback.
I think he's a lot of fun, but I didn't like him coming out as an NFL quarterback. But I think the league is better with having Will Levis in it. That's where I'm going to live on that as well. We need more quarterbacks like Will Levis. Taylor Heineke seems to have gone into this shell. Taylor Heineke used to be like Will Levis. But he seems to just be playing a very chill game now, which is sad to see. We need more Ryan Fitzpatricks, more Will Levises, more Case Keenums, more players like that. Because, all right, there may not be starting quarterbacks in the league, but at the moment, we only have about 20 decent starting quarterbacks in the league. So at least they're not boring, which is fun to see. Jay, I'm excited for week 4. I'm excited for tonight. I'm going to try and stay up and watch most of it. And I have to catch up on the 40 minutes the next day. It does kick off at 1:30 in the morning for me. But my love for the Dallas Cowboys or my rage for the Dallas Cowboys most of the time will probably carry me through. Are you excited for this week? You got a big rivalry coming up.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I should be worried because I'm not worried. Like, I really feel like the Vikings are going to come out and make a fucking statement against Green Bay. So maybe I should be more worried than I am because, like I told you before, I thought they could beat the Niners and I thought they could beat the Texans, but I wouldn't be shocked if they would have lost. Now I'm really feeling like this is the same offense. Matt LaFleur runs that same Shannahan offense like 3 weeks in a row. What's B-Flow going to dial up? Sam Darnold's going to play within himself. I think the Vikings come out and put out a statement, which scares me.
I love when the Cowboys play on Thursdays because it means I can watch all the other teams and not freak out. And I think one of the big games that'll be on the TV will be the Vikings against the Packers. It'll be interesting to see how Jordan Love.
I think they're crazy. If they haven't announced it, but he did practice. I think they're crazy if you put a Jordan Love out there with a knee issue against this defense.
Yeah, I think they're crazy if they do. I'm surprised he didn't take the Vikings as a lock. I had them as 2.5 point.
Never.
Dog.
Never. I would never even bet on the Vikings. So, yeah.
Same. I would never do it for the Cowboys either.
And then my question is, does Jordan Love wear a knee brace, which makes him even less athletic?
Yeah, if he even has to think about wearing a knee brace, then he shouldn't be on the field for this game because they've been fine. They're 2-0 with Malik Willis. Like they shouldn't even be on the field.
I would rather play Jordan Love, and he's a better quarterback, but I don't have to worry about, especially with that knee, him breaking outside and running for 40 yards.
Yeah, definitely. What you have to worry more about John Love is if he's running outside and then throws a dart for 40 yards. You don't really have to worry about that.
Just double team Reed and he doesn't have, where's he going? But yeah, that's
That's for Sunday. And guys, come in, enjoy your football tonight. Make sure to tune in on our pregame show on Sundays. It's always a lot of fun. We run through every single team. Are we doing it Saturday this week?
I'm free Sunday, so we can just run Sunday. I had some real life shit happen last Sunday, so we had to do it a day early.
We don't have real lives outside of the NFL, Jay. It's NFL season. No, I'm joking. So we have so come watch our pregame show on Sunday. We run through every single team. We tell them what we would do betting against the spread, as well as some fun segments like GMJ, where we make Jay the GM of different teams, and I give him different scenarios to go through as well. And we'll have a few other segments for you to watch. So come and join us on Sundays because we're more fun than the other team, the other broadcast for you to watch. We go on live about 2 hours before kickoff. The best way to find out when we're going live is to subscribe and hit the bell. That's the best way to do it. Then you'll actually get a notification on your phone 30 minutes before we go live. So
how can you say no? We even have Justin Jefferson and Micah Parsons showing you what to do on the screen.
Right there. No one says no to Micah Parsons apart from the Baltimore Ravens offensive line.
And Mike Zimmer. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit the like and subscribe. Make sure you don't miss any of the other shows. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.